And I think there's a snobbishness with reading books. They are a bit outdated. They're a little bit like playing the spoons and tap dancing and the theatre. They were good once, but things have moved on.
The head's not quite on the right place. That's his little issue that he's got to work on for the moment.
My apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Look, I'm all for innovation, and I advocated putting a scrum half in the line out. It sounds great, but it's bollocks idea, really.
Hello and welcome to Under the Sticks, a podcast brought to you by Pro 14 Rugby, where we attempt to deliver half-baked opinions served up as real, authoritative rugby analysis. My name is Andy McGeady. These two gentlemen are called Paul Williams and Sean Holley, and usually I'd ask them how their week has gone, but you know what? I don't care, because right now, coming in, we have someone far more interesting, who's called Stuart McInally. Stuart McInally, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Andy. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's good. You're livening things up already, and you're wearing the lockdown baseball cap, which is, necessary in these desperate times.
Is it required?
It kind of
it is. It really is, yeah.
He's got his little company branding on there. This is shameless.
It is shameless. Stuart, how are you getting on right now?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm currently recovering from a neck injury I sustained start of January. So just working my way through all the rehab of that. I'm going to be out for another maybe month or two yet, but everything's going well on that front. I hurt my neck back in 2015 as well. It's a similar sort of injury. So I'm kind of very aware of the timescale return and what I need to do rehab-wise to make sure that I get back fit and strong. So, but yeah, no, it's been fine. I've got it's obviously disappointing to not be playing for Edinburgh and potentially in the Six Nations, but just had a young kid, so getting to be at home with the family has been brilliant, and helping out as much as I can. It's really helped me see the positives and taking away the disappointment a bit that I get to spend a bit more time at home.
That is a good, solid answer that's going to earn you brownie points, my friend. Well done. But genuinely, if you go back to the last time you injured your neck, that was only, your second game for Scotland, and you'd recently converted to hooker from back row. That was like, that must have been that must have been a bit of a, have I made the right decision here moment?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've had loads of that in my career when I moved to hooker. I mean, none more so when I'm face down in the mud going backwards in the scrum. I mean, when I was learning to scrum, I think the first time I scrummed was when I was scrummaging for Edinburgh, and I was up against Alistair Dickinson, Ross Ford, and WP Nell. Oh. And I'm packing down, I'm thinking, how is this going to go? And yeah, it turned out not well. And since that moment, I was always like, oh Christ, what have I done? But I always remembered why I wanted to do it. Like I'd had big ambitions to want to play for Scotland, and it was something that I knew was just going to take time. I spoke to Fordy a lot about it, and it was the kind of thing it was always going to take time. So I knew I just had to keep grafting. Did a wee spell down at Bristol, which was good fun and helped me apply my trade there. But yeah, the injury in 2015 that was particularly sore because that was just before the World Cup. So I'd obviously got selected to go in the World Cup. In the World Cup squad 2015, missed that one, and I was out for like 4 months, and it plays on your mind a bit because you got a neck injury in the front row, and you do think, am I going to get back fit from this? But I did manage to get back fit, and I've been I've been relatively injury free for the last five years, which has been great. So, and that's when it gives me confidence with this one as well, is that I know the rehab required, I know how long it takes, I know I'll be able to get back fit from it. So I've just got to try and stay positive.
Yeah, Paul, I know we were talking when we knew Stuart was coming in. Position swaps were something that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's something that fascinates me. I put on Twitter about 6 months ago that players who switch from centre to hooker very rarely pull it off. But do you think it's something that you'll see a lot more of now in the future? When you think how many good back row forwards there seem to be now in all of the Six Nations countries, let's say, for instance, you think you see a lot of players moving into more of those specific technical positions?
I think so. I mean, back row seems to be an area where every country has huge strength and depth. It's a very popular position. But yeah, I mean, you've got to really have a drive to want to do it. Like my whole purpose for doing it was because I wanted to play for Scotland, right? So I always had that in the back of my mind. I feel like if you're just moving for being told to move or just for the sake of it, you can kind of get by. But if you really want to make a go of it, it takes a lot of, you kind of have to go all in with it. And it was something that I learned, and you have to be totally open to the fact that you're not going to play much at the start, that when you do play, you're probably not going to play that well. Nothing can really prepare you for that. I probably wasn't quite prepared for that, because you spend all this extra time that you normally be spending on, practicing your tackling or practicing your jackals or something. You end up spending every living moment, every second you're breathing, practicing your throwing or your scrummaging. And naturally, like, that gets slightly better, but then you do see other parts of your game drop away. All this other stuff that you were naturally practicing loads of, suddenly you find yourself not quite as good as it. So actually, to do that full circle where you can get back to a level where you feel like you can contribute, it took me a good number of years until I actually felt like I was playing good rugby. Probably when I moved in 2013 was the change. I probably didn't feel like I started playing properly well, representing myself well, until about 2017. So it does a good 4 years. It does take time. You have to be willing to put in the time and effort that's required. But I do think it's something that people can do if they commit to it. And like you said, it's a popular one from the back row to hooker. A lot of people move from back row to hooker because they can't play professionally, or they're not going to get professional game time at back row, so they try and move to hooker, right? So, but I played 50 odd games for Edinburgh at back row, so that quite excited me. It sort of made me think, what could I achieve if I move now? So
62, I think you'll find 62 in the back row. Only 89 at hooker, right? You're actually for Edinburgh. Actually,
I got a few of those back row games after I moved to hooker in like 2016, hadn't I? I'd already.
I like the yourself and Fraser Brown. You make a very complimentary. You give your coaches options when there's injuries around the park.
Sean, the New Zealand game. Sorry, the New Zealand game in Murrayfield. I started off a hooker, and then a couple of back rows got injured, and then George Turner came on, and obviously George hooker comes on. I'm like, oh, right, my day's done. And then he's like, nah, you're going to back row.
You're moving back.
Like, suddenly I'm staring down the barrel of 80 minutes. Like, normally as a hooker, you've got 60 minutes, and that's your limit. And then I'm thinking, Christ, I'm going to see this game out here, and like one of the biggest games I've ever played in. But yeah, I ended up moving to 6. It was a weird game. I ended up moving to 6. So I played back row in the scrums. But then I threw, or it was some combination of the both. It was an odd one, but yeah, no, it's always good fun going back to the back row every now and then, not having to scrum in the front row.
Yeah, see, once you make the move though, you want to stay there. Really, you don't want to have that tag. But you had to get it right, Rambo, because you end up playing for a former England hooker at Edinburgh. So how's it playing for Cockers?
Yeah, it's good. He was the making of me really when he first came to Edinburgh, and he really gave me my chance. I'd never really played much until he came in, and he came in and he just he saw what I was about and just kind of backed me. I was nowhere near the finished article, and but he just put a lot of time into me, and having that first pre-season when he was there, he spent a lot of time with us working on scrummaging, and gave me a lot of time in the saddle for throwing, which is the main thing. Cocker was always good to me as well. Like, he never expected me to be perfect at my throwing, but if I ever messed up, prior to Cocker's coming in, if I ever messed up, I'd always just kind of be like, it's fine, I'll get it in the game. And a lot of time I would miss it in the game, whereas Cocker's never lets me away with that sort of stuff. If I miss one, it's just right, throw it again, and it's nothing too aggressive. It's just, I won't let you away with that now. You need to perform under pressure for me in training, because you're going to be under pressure in games. So that really took my sort of training at hooker to a new level, and since then it's just got better and better. So it's tough going. There's no denying it runs a hard environment at Edinburgh, and we all work exceptionally hard. But such is the way we have to work hard at Edinburgh if we want to achieve results. We're in a really tough league, and ultimately that's what he's about. He drives really hard standards. And yeah, it's over the past couple of years we've had a lot more success than we've had since before he came in.
So one of the things which has been probably difficult for I know TV watchers is playing in a very giant stadium. Okay, which sometimes is great, but if you're trying to create an atmosphere, sometimes it's not so good. Now we finally have a permanent, smaller, I think it's 7,800 capacity stadium at Murrayfield for Edinburgh Rugby. Is that something that you guys are looking forward to?
Yeah, massively. I mean, we've seen it being built over the last sort of year and a half, almost 2 years now. I think it got announced. 2018, it got announced. But yeah, no, it's massive. I mean, I don't know if this picture is meant to be of it or what, but there's a really good picture, a blurry floodlight, but it's actually really nice. You picked the worst photo that was sent, but it looks great. I mean, it looks great. And that really nice synthetic 3G pitch. There it is again. That's one of the floodlights. Yeah,
it's Loch Ness by night. By the way.
Looks like a T-Rex attacking the stadium. Is what it looks like.
Yeah, no, it's great, and it reminds me a lot of the Arms Park in a way, where it just sits right in the sort of the footprint of the National Stadium. It looks, I mean, it's obviously brand new, really good stands, as you say. It seats almost 8,000. It's a really good spongy 3G pitch. I know the boys have been training on it quite a lot now when it all got signed off for the healthcare stuff, and it's going to promote a much. I know boys are saying they're everything's going a bit quicker. The ball's coming a bit quicker, and we're going to have to make sure we're up to that sort of speed if we want to get the best out of playing on that surface week in, week out. So no, I think it's great for us, and the fact that we now have a home that we can really brand up as Edinburgh Rugby's home stadium, and we can get all our colours and our branding on it, and knowing that we can sell that ground out, like we can get 7,800 to games, absolutely. And having that crowd so close to the pitch is something that we've longed for, and we're finally getting, which is great.
Man, I think that's going to be a massive plus for you, and that's one that somebody like Cockers will really embrace. Speaking as a coach who would take teams to Murrayfield, it doesn't hold as many fears, even with a bit of a crowd in. It's quite a big pitch, big dead ball areas. Nice spacious environment. However, when Edinburgh used to play, remind me, was it Meadowbank? Is it where Motherwell Soccer used to play? Would that be right, Stu?
So Meadowbank was that was before Murrayfield, yeah.
Yeah, so we used to take them there, and they'd have the Proclaimers play in, right? They'd have that dung, 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 dung. As you love this, Paul, as they got into our half, they'd start it up on the big loudspeaker, dung, 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 and then they would ramp up, right? As they started, I can see it now. Ali Hogg is carrying into the 22, dung, 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 dung. They get over the line, and they'd be like, "I would walk 500." Oh, it was a nightmare. Taking a Murrayfield any day.
Well, I'll make sure they have that song front and center next time.
Throw that in the ID spot.
No, this is one where rugby comes into its own when you have a crowd close to the game, because there's so many moments where an energized crowd just lift everything, and it's great for a TV. It's great for a product as a whole. There we go. There's nice picture.
Nice.
Red posts. Nice.
Orange.
Like
Orange.
Is it orange?
Orange, Edinburgh. Yeah. That looks wicked.
Orange posts. Yeah, that does.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. I mean, it'll be a proper good club rugby ground. Honestly, when it's full as well, it'll be brilliant.
Are you looking forward to welcoming our South African friends to this new ground?
Oof.
Yeah,
talk
absolutely.
About scrimmaging.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's gonna be brilliant playing against those teams, isn't it? I mean, it's a proper challenge against teams that pride themselves on being physical and having good set pieces, and that's kind of what we've tried to develop at Edinburgh over the last sort of 3-4 years since Cockerill has been in. It's a big part of his game and sort of what he tries to instill on us. So it's going to be amazing. Like, you just always want to challenge yourself against the best teams, and we're getting the best of the South African teams, which is brilliant, and a chance to play new teams as well is always brilliant.
Paul, do you reckon that getting a nice speedy pitch might have been a tactical error with the South African sides coming up here?
Depends which ones come up. If they bring in a big Malherb, the 400-stone prop, then it won't matter so much. But yeah, if you're playing, like there's a little bit of a mix of everything with the South Africa. It'll be fantastic to see, though.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They play quick as well. Like they're used to playing in good tracks and good nice weather, so they're not going to be afraid to chuck the ball around. Especially look at the way the Cheetahs have been playing, and the guys, the Kings as well. Like they're not afraid to throw the ball around. But then you've also got the teams that have the physical side. They're going to be tough teams to break down. But I mean, what a challenge!
Yeah, they don't really do hybrid lock flankers. They're all like 6'8" and 20 stone.
Yeah, they are.
We're gonna let Mr. McInally go and pay attention to his homely duties and do more pilot training. When was the last time you were flying?
Too long ago, mate. It's been, I reckon it was before the first lockdown, so like sort of January, February last year, so like over a year now. So it's been really disappointing, and I'd love to get back in. I think the flying schools might be starting to open, but I just can't risk it. I can't go into a plane that's been used by like a bunch of other people. I can't sit with an instructor that's been seeing other people, because I need to go back out with an instructor now because it's been so long. Like, I can't imagine me going to Cockerill and saying, "Oh, sorry, I'm a close contact of my flight instructor that I took a flying lesson with the other day." I think that you'd probably just say take the rest of your rugby career as quarantine.
You'd be flying in a different way.
You'd be flying head first.
Yeah, so I realised it's not worth it. I'll get back into it at some point.
It's good to see you, boy. You take care of yourself, yeah, and your family.
Cheers, Sean. Cheers, Andy. Thanks, Paul, for having me.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Stuart McInally. Now we can kind of start the show again. But
great lad.
That was the
great
good bit.
lad.
Yeah, how long did you have him for at Bristol?
Well, probably the best part of half a season, on and off, and then he went back up, and then he came back down again. But it was a bit of we had a few hooker injuries, and he was converting, as he said then, this was back in about 2014, he was going through that transition, so it worked both ways, really. He's just a good rugby player. Forget the position. He's a real intelligent rugby player, tough guy, nice guy, good set of credentials, really.
Yeah.
And big dude, again, as befits a man with a back row heritage. Right, let's go. Let's circle back here for a minute. What are we actually going to talk about tonight on Under the Sticks? We have done live with Stuart McInally. We will be talking about recap of round 12 in the Pro 14, including how Leinster are extremely lethal once they get inside your 22, even if they don't get there as much as you might think sometimes. Some light-fingered forward play. Rhys Webb lighting it up, especially at the very end of that game against Zebre. Ellis Jenkins, long road back that he's had. We'll spend a little bit of time on Ellis. Holley's heroes from that round 12. We might even talk about how to watch Super Rugby. Our fingers and toes are firmly crossed. We might even get to the Six Nations, but no promises today. There's just a lot on. Hello to all the regulars who've been in for a while now without getting a shout out. Michael Jenkins, hello from Pembrokeshire, West Wales. Gunnar Beck, don't think we know Gunnar Beck. Connor Smith, Ollie Hughes, Harley Worthy, Kieran O'Callaghan, hello from a very, very wet and windy Tralee in Southwest Ireland. Chiefs girl, in from the start, excellent. Good to have you. As usual, we'll hit the best questions and comments at the end of the show. I did some more homework for that chat. I was looking for some good converts. Paul, you like this. Yeah. So in Scotland alone, there've been a couple. So McInally and Fraser Brown at the same time at hooker. That's I love that. Dave Heffernan out in Connacht, another convert. Ashley Johnson, I always liked. Bomb around the place for Wasps. Augustin Creevy for Argentina.
Oh, that makes sense, doesn't it?
He got capped real fast when he converted. Tom Smith, you mentioned converting from centre, and the one I really liked because it's harkening back to something that we used to see and we don't see much more of. John Schmidt. So when he first broke through the South Africa, you see him play hooker and prop.
Yeah, that's
then
right.
Hooker full time. Yeah. Then they tried him for a year and a half at prop, then back to hooker. Like that's like Ollie LaRue style. Will play.
Steve Thompson's the favourite.
And Kevin Mialamu. I think Kevin Mialamu started in the back row and then went up, I think.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's
Don't quote me
usually
on
there's
that.
usually a reason for moving up. Sometimes it's size, who knows, or an opportunity. Right. Round 12 of the Pro 14. We're going straight in, lads. Where will we start? We will start with Dragons and Leinster. Okay.
Oh.
We'll start with Dragons and Leinster. A few things to talk about in this game, but we're going to jump straight into Sean. You wanted to talk about, in particular, Leinster in the 22. You don't want to mess with them.
Yeah, you know what I feel about Leinster, right? I'm just getting a little bit cross with them at the moment because they're taking advantage now because they're not playing like they did at the start of the season or even the middle, right? Just recently they're stuttering a little bit. I don't know why. I think maybe some of the pitches, certainly Friday, the pitch they played on Rodney Parade wasn't great. It didn't help them. And sides maybe are working them out a little bit, but they're not working them out in the 22, that's for sure. So I was watching this. This was 15 phases, right? Before they finally scored. There's another one then in a similar vicinity that's from 14 phases after getting in there from a penalty kick into touch. In the 22, but what it boils down to, right? I think this is Josh Murphy's try. What it boils down to, boys, is, and I text you this: they only entered themselves. They only either carried the ball into or kicked the ball from a penalty, so they got the line out 6 times on Friday against the Dragons.
Unbelievable.
How many tries they score?
5.
5. So the 6th was a line out up in that far left-hand corner. It was a line out that they just didn't catch cleanly, and Ben Fry went through and turned it over. So, it could well have easily been 6. So, my worry for Leo and Leinster is that they are so efficient and so clinical in this 22 that they're just waiting for that to happen because they know what happens when they really finally come up against, say, a Munster. Has been a good question that's come in from somebody. Can Munster win the Pro 14? Well, if there's a side that either A can stop them getting in the 22, so you don't give penalties away, you shut them out, you kick and force them back, and you press high on the field, or you can stop them close to the line, which I don't think many sides can do, not even the South African ones coming in.
Yeah.
So
it's getting to the point now where, as we mentioned in our little WhatsApp group, you've got to contest their line out on your 5 meter line. It's pointless just staying down and waiting for that ball. You go in to concede, you might as well stick somebody up or stick 3 of them up because they go in to score. If they're scoring 5 from 6, you've got to do something.
Yeah, I mean it's sacrilege to give a penalty away anywhere around the centre spot or certainly in your own half. Because you've got, obviously the Burns that will kick you into the 22. It doesn't matter if they kick 10, 15 meters from the line. Like I said, they're building 14, 15 phases to score. It's relentless. And I don't know if you saw Luke McGrath's interview after. He was asked, is this something that you practice? And he said, we practice this relentlessly. And that's what Exeter Chiefs do in England. Unfortunately, a lot of sides are doing it now. And it's getting a bit like, Christ, getting to 5 meters out, and that's the only aspect of play we're seeing. The Dragons did well to come back at the end. And our talking point, Andy, is obviously this.
Then there's a question in about this, all right, which is from Christian Hyde. What was Sam Davies doing at the end of the Dragons? And it's a funny one. It depends on your view of the world. So what had happened here? Dragons had come back with 2 late tries to come back to 6 points behind Leinster. So Leinster were already heavy favourites of this game. No one expected the Dragons to get anything from it, frankly. And they were well behind, and they came back, got within 6. They're at home. Yes, it is a bad pitch, not a great day weather-wise, but Sam Davies chose to kick it out. Even watching the feed, the commentator was that was weird. It depends on your view of the world and what the rugby world might look like next season. So, Sean, what was your reaction when you saw that?
He was tamping.
Well, I can't tell you because I swore at the television. It included the initials WTF. All right, so you can read into that what you like. And I was watching it at home, and I was like, "Wow, this is great. We got somebody taking Leinster potentially to the wire here." And he ran back, and at first I thought he was sprinting back to go for it. But since I've looked at it, and he's actually looking to the coaching boxes as if to say,
Yeah.
what do you want me to do? So that in itself is a bad one for me, because you should cover off all scenarios in the week with your leadership group, right? So what happens if we get within 6 with 5 minutes to go? You have to run through that scenario with at least one of them. So that's one. And then the second one then is, I had then afterwards this huge conspiracy theory that they're not sure how many teams are actually going to qualify for Europe next year. When we merge the two tables together at the end of the year, maybe the DORs have a little bit of inside information and they're happy to take the point. But I know that's not the case now. I spoke to the Ospreys guys yesterday, Toby Booth. He said, no, as far as I know, we don't know. So it comes down to, on the night, poor old Sam Davis as one of the leaders, to say, wow, 6 points, the clock's in red. From, would we be happy 10 minutes ago taking a point? Yeah, kick it off. We're not going 80 metres. And I think that's all it boils down to.
Yeah, see, I think I took the sensible, pragmatic coaching view for once. Because normally I'd have been, right, somebody starts slinging missed fives and get that in the corner. Whereas I was thinking, very practically, I was thinking that pitch was a mess. The wind was ridiculous. And then I was thinking almost, is it a psychological boost for that Dragons team, having been pasted already by Leinster thirds, to get the BPs is something you can build on? And the next time, this is what I was thinking. And still now, we always chat about Leinster. They never commit to the breakdown. The chances of them committing anyone to any of your rucks for that 4 minutes you've got the ball is zero. Yeah. All it would have been is 4 minutes of you waiting to knock on. And then
I think you get more out of it. No, I think you get more out of it for having a crack.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? Because you got nothing to lose. A point isn't worth anything to us. We've come back to within 6. Let's show. Come on, let's give it a crack, boys. Who knows? Because imagine you did hit the jackpot and you broke through. Then you're going to get a lot more back from that. All right, if you don't, if they knocked it on just outside the 22, do you know what? Leinster would have just kicked it out. It was in the red. Yeah, they wouldn't have gone for another try and taken that 6 points. And I was thinking at the time, hence the swearing at, and I sense McGeady was in the same camp.
Yeah, McGeady was worse. McGeady was straight on the WhatsApp.
I could not let that go. That's one of those things that was eating at me, because I was going, what am I missing? What am I missing, right? And so by the time I woke up the next morning, I'm talking all night, this was happening, right? I'm going, okay, so there is no playoff for Europe, right? So seems to be set in stone by the Guinness Pro 14. There will be no playoff, whatever happens, right? Now, we have been going on the expectation that, and there's nothing set in stone with COVID land, right? We've been going on the expectation that's going to be the top 3 from each conference, right? Now, there's a chance that it's the top 4 from each conference. It's not there's no guarantees yet about the format for next season. If it's top 3 from each conference, then there is absolutely 0 point in the world in taking 1 point from that game.
No.
None, right?
Bar the psychological of you've got something from Leinster.
Maybe, right? And if your bar is that low, then you have a problem, right? But if you think, and this is where, to Sean, to your point, if you think that you have information that says it's going to be 4, or there's a good chance there's 4, then that changes your scenario, because that big gap between Ospreys and Glasgow Dragons and, frankly, Zebre underneath, right? Mm-hmm. But no, at the time I was absolutely bulling. And that's as a Leinster fan. I was like, what are you doing?
That is your team.
Yeah. Anyway, right, we spent enough time on this one, I think. Let's move on to Scarlets Benetton. Scarlets, handy win, 41-17. They're pretty good value for this. And there were a couple of things to discuss in this game. Mr. Williams, do you want to take the lead here?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was Jack Morgan. I thought he was fantastic. I've put him in the column, 31 minutes.
Well done.
He's in. I think he's been fantastic, ripping up the depth chart at the Scarlets. He's almost gone straight through to, with Josh McLeod out, he's nearly first choice. But the biggest thing for me was how their line-out functioned. Ryan Elias has had so much grief this season. Awful on social media. He had that rough performance in Llanelli for Wales. And it makes you realise it all isn't a player's throw-in all of the time. If it was, you'd have that problem permanently. So I thought their set piece was fantastic. And that's a big issue at Cletley this season, in Cletley, not Cletley. Their set piece hasn't been great, and it was good to see them recover.
Some good young players stepping up. Sam Costello went off after 29 minutes with an ankle injury after scoring that try. But this is the try. I don't know how it's going to come out with Super Producers video, but I showed this on TV last night. There's 3 or 4 different bits of skill in one sequence there for this kid to score. He's not going to stay at the Scarlets if they're not going to make him first choice. He's not, and it doesn't make sense. They've got Dan Davis, Josh McLeod, James Cubbyboy Davis, and this guy. You don't need 4 sevens, with Uza Kasim there and Ed Kennedy, and I'm sure there's other people I'm doing a disservice to that I could mention. So, I think he's going to go to the Ospreys. He played his club rugby in Aberystwyth, my old club in the Ospreys region. But to be fair to Benetton, I'll go back to the game, right? They had 2 yellow cards because of the pressure that the Scarlets were putting on them, and rightly so. And the Scarlets took their chances. But you know what? They came back. They came back with a bit of spirit. They had a try disallowed. Gaggio, the prop, went through, and it was all right. It did hit the ground, but at one point it could have gone to 23-17, and that would have been a real test of the Scarlets' mettle. As it was, they did bounce back. They played really well towards the end of the second half, and Callum Affoni was superb. I had a real struggle at 8 this week in my Holley's Heroes because all the 8s were playing brilliant. Callum
he was brilliant. He was brilliant in the line-out as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Callum Affoni was used as an option at the back, which you don't often see. It's really good.
Yeah.
We're not going to milk this one too much. But what was the thing that Sean Holley learned from this game?
What did I learn?
Clothing.
Pardon?
Gloves.
Clothing reference.
Gloves. O.J. Simpson.
Yes, fair play, boys. It's not one I've had to attend to. Gee. So I was commentating with Tom Shanklin, and there's a close-up on the gloves on Leonardo Sato on the wing. I didn't pay too much attention to it, but Shanks was going off about them. And fortunately, my co-hosts for Under the Sticks sent me the law. I didn't know this, that you can have gloves, but only to the beginning of your fingers, fingerless mitts. And he had the full shabonga on. He had the full long gloves on. Didn't come out second half of them on, though, did he?
No, he didn't.
No, didn't. It's a funny one, yeah. It's in Regulation 12, a thing that I know far too much about from an article written many, many years ago, right? That's how it's stuck in the McGeady brain. So sorry, Mr. Sardo, but they're not allowed. Next up, a game which we will not spend. Oh, actually, we can spend a lot of time about this. Glasgow and Ulster. Yes, this try is a try, Mr. Paul Williams.
It is a try, and started by a loose head, might I say, carried into cut. It was beautiful. Hume, really underrated. Lovely ball inside the Cooney, and there's your man who's on the end of everything at the moment. I thought it was, it's obviously the try of the weekend, and summed up a rather pretty performance from Ulster again. Some of the forward play was amazing. I'm a big fan of Kieran Treadwell.
Watch this again. Because one of the greatest things about this is Cooney's role, where he gets the ball and he gives the no-look assist, knowing he's getting smashed. And the player getting him knows that assist is coming, and he's still smashing him.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Little Magic Johnson no-look pass. It's gorgeous. But that sums up the way Ulster played, isn't it? They're a 15-man team now.
I think everyone's some sort of record, isn't it, for Cooney on try assists? Isn't he the highest number of try assists in the Guinness Pro 14, something like that? He's
another prop involved now. Look at this.
Yeah, there's Tom O'Toole stepping in.
That's incredible skills, that is. If that was in Super Rugby, we'd be going mental.
Better, yeah. That's better than the first. That's a show and go from a tight dead.
Exactly.
I give Eric O'Sullivan, Guinness Player of the Match at the Dragons last season. He was excellent, and this is what you want to see, ball handling props. But obviously who can still do their primary role. I thought this was a good win. I thought on paper it looked sticky. It looked sticky going up there. I thought Danny's got some boys back here and time to prepare. And to their credit, Glasgow, they give them some trouble, didn't they? First 20 minutes, half hour, and then they came back. So it was a sticky fixture. So they had to take these chances.
Yeah, and do you know who did play well was the Glasgow 9, Dolby.
Oh, he did, yeah.
He's such a good player. He actually brought down Toole there. He's a really good player, that boy. Brought into the Scotland squad this morning, and he really deserves that.
Next, is there anything else we want to touch in this game? Because I'm gonna zip through if we don't.
No, other than Treadwell, who's fast moving up my man crush list. I love a second row can offload.
Yeah, he's good. Next up, we're going to go to another game in Wales, and we're not going to spend too much time on this because, ladies and gentlemen, if you spent your afternoon watching Ospreys and Zebre, I was one of those people. I'm not getting it back. Okay, it wasn't good, but Rhys Webb reminded us of what Rhys Webb can do. And that's all he can do as a player, Sean, because he popped up and just, I mean, we can talk, and I think you should talk about what the Zebre defense was doing, but you have to take advantage of those moments too.
Well, okay, so a couple of things here. I'm going to do the Sean, I told you so, Holley moment. That there was only ever going to be, in conditions like this with the Ospreys team, one chance per half for Rhys, all right? The first half, he missed the chance because he just passed behind Morgan Morris, but he took this one. It was brilliant. What the Zebre winger is doing, I don't know. And
what
you know
is he
my
doing?
beef. You know my beef, right? Hookers live in the hookers channel. There, he's in the mall, right? 14 is in the mall. There he is with the blue sleeves behind, right? It's unbelievable. What is he doing? You've got the touchline there. He's in that mall. Yeah. And this is the replacement scrum half that Rhys, by the way, in the 75th minute, apparently has no gas. Well, he's just outdone the replacement scrum half. But he's only ever going to get one chance a half. And as I say, the first half, he sniped through. My preparation for the TV show was Zebre are vulnerable on the fringes. But we didn't have time to run it in. But he took then that gap in the first half, didn't get the pass away, and then that was like the 75th minutes. He had to buy his time. And what would have been difficult for Rhys Webb, just for the followers here and the listeners, he's had a tough couple of weeks, right? He's been expected to be in the Welsh squad and pushing up the ranks, especially now Thomas Williams Lloyd Williams has jumped over him to come in, and that team on paper has no Stephen Myler even, let alone Tipperick and Alan Wynne and those guys, you know. So he's the most experienced guy. He's captain, and he hasn't been captain very often. He's going to have to rein himself back. He's that sort of player that I'm going to go out and show. He's going to have to rein himself back, play the role, wait for his chance and take it. And boy, he took it. Yeah. So again, after the Connacht game where he was fantastic, it's 2 player of the matches in a row.
Yeah.
And my favourite bit is that he didn't just leave sub scrum half in his wake. He also left the cameraman because he actually goes out of shot. It's magic when it happens. Yeah. It's magic.
You know what was brilliant about the Zebre winger is he didn't even join the side of the mall where he was standing. He came around and joined on the very left.
He went in twice, man. He went in twice.
Yeah. Ewan Davies says Zebre winger wants to be the next Johnny May, wants to be part of any mall and take the credit if it goes well.
Even live, you were looking, you know, sometimes you need to watch stuff twice, but even live, you're sort of thinking, where's he going? What's he doing? Bang, gone.
It was great. I will say that my sons love that there's zebras on the pitch. They just love the concept. Edinburgh, Munster. Edinburgh 10, Munster 22. There was some good goal line work in this game, as there regularly is from some of these young Munster forwards. It's good to see. I know, Paul, you were doing a lot of looking at the Munster pack in this game.
Yeah, they were really impressive because, as Stuart said in the interview earlier, Edinburgh have got a good pack and a reasonably good set piece, even when they're playing the second team. But Munster were all over them like shingles in the scrum in the first 40. It was unbelievable. And that, you know, we were chatting about Leinster earlier, how ruthless they are from that position. So are Munster, really, aren't they? Their pick and go work, especially with Coombs now and Donahue. It's really first class. Really impressed with that, Sean.
Yeah, I put 2 of them in my team of the week. I put Cronin in, to be fair, because like you say, I think he's underrated. And Billy Holland was the Guinness player of the match, but I put him in because it just reminds me, what do I always say about, you know, you don't back against them, you know, they go away, you look on paper, you think, oh, this is a sticky fixture for them, and it is, but they come out. And do you know what? all the focus is on Leinster and Ulster, Conference A, right?
Mhm.
And these guys, although they're top and winning, they're going under the radar, boys.
Yeah, they
Tell
are.
me now.
Yeah.
I'm fancying them all. I did it last year to my peril. I did it, but now, and there's a comment there about from James Armstrong, Casey next at island number 9. Well, he's got to be the next Munster 9 first, and he's fast becoming that. And I agree. He reminds me of Strings. The hunger in him, just the attitude in him, and the aggression in him. I think Munster don't get that from Conor Murray anymore. He's sort of a bit too cool for school,
Yeah.
But all of a sudden they got this kid. Look at him.
Look at that. And do you know what's really impressive? Even when their centres have quiet games, they're still pretty loud. Like Farrell, I think his average carries, I think it was 7 meters a game, which is a big number for a centre. And, like even when they're not stealing the YouTube moments, just grafting, same as the Allen Day. As, Sean said, he was a crash ball centre when he joined. And
it's on record.
It's proven to be the case.
I still think they need a 10. If they're not going to pick Ben Healy, I still think that's he's too flaky, JJ, for me. I know he got the drop goal the other week, but he's not. He's a bit flaky. Either go with Healy or they'll find someone. I think
ship someone in.
Next up, at the same time, because that was a good Saturday night of rugby. Connacht were playing a big game at home against the Cardiff Blues. This was a big game. Connacht 32, Cardiff Blues 17. A few things that we'll touch on in and around this game. But Sean, do you want to start off about just the some of the action that we did see in the day?
It was going to be a great game, wasn't it? Because there's a lot riding on it. Connacht could get clear, Blues could get close. Couple back for the Blues, Rhys Carre there, Lloyd Williams. But a couple of boys couldn't travel either. So I think Ben Thomas, Mason Grady was due to start at 13 due to COVID tests. So that put them on their heels a little bit. But Wootton, Alex Wootton,
brilliant,
unbelievable, and he's been another one going under the radar. He's got serious gas. He doesn't look. He's an unfashionable player. He looks like he should be playing for Bridgend in 1973. But do you know what? He's bloody effective. He's quick. He's a poacher. He comes in at the right time. Carty again pulling the strings. It was him or Madigan for me, and then having Delan back. I thought that guy would just flick the ball on Heffernan, the hooker. But have a look at his numbers. He was ridiculous. I think he made the most carry of any forward in the Guinness Pro 14.
Yeah. He carried like an 8, didn't he? And you think of Wootton, right? He's never in the I've done a bit on him in my column. He's never in the pre-game film. No one ever mentions him. He's rarely in teams of the week. And he always scores at least one of the best tries of the weekend. And this is it. He scored the 2 tries of the weekend in the game of the weekend, as far as I'm concerned. Fantastic. He needs to rebrand. He does. Just needs to change his name, dye his hair, bang, come back as a different player next season. He'll be in the Island team for the Autumn International.
You can joke, but that's what Sebastian Chabal did. If you ever look up at the old original photos of Chabal coming through, he has no chin. He has no chin, right? And instead, he just kept growing his hair for a very long time. Suddenly, he's a caricature and he is a brand, a man brand.
The easiest way to do that is a scrum cap. So if you become the wing with the scrum cap, you're in the hair. You're Matt Gitto. Not that he was a wing.
He just needs to do what he's doing. Another one is Darren Sweetnam at Munster. He's another one, sort of ugly effective, if you like. We had one, Richard Mustoe, remember him, Paul?
Yeah.
But as long as they're effective and do their job. Now, there was some controversy, apparently, if you read Cardiff Blues fans' Twitter feeds, which would include you, Paul Williams. So, you're not neutral. You are 100% Cardiff Blues fan.
From Gowerton.
And there were some issues with the referee and the TMO, I think. There was a maul try that was questioned by the players on the field. And then this coming up is Andrew Brace. Is he in the way? His positioning in all the build-up to this is questionable.
Yeah.
But, it's so tight that he's 25-17, like 77 minutes. He wants to get this right. And they're claiming Rory Thornton couldn't get a tackle because he was in the way. there's the other train of thought that it was a pretty poor attempt at a tackle.
Yeah, I mean, they're both tricky. He is technically in the way of that tackle, you would argue. There's Papali, didn't get sent off, scored a try. He played really well, actually, in the 5 minutes he was on. And then there was a non-straight throw from the try.
Look at that though. Adam's paused that perfectly. He's
Yeah.
going to be. I think Greg Garner's probably going to speak to him about his
Shouldn't be
positioning.
there.
No, he's got caught there, isn't he?
Yeah.
He wouldn't normally be there. I think if when you get a chance to watch a couple of phases back, he's sort of got himself in the wrong position a lot in this. He's made it disorientated himself. Now, as we see here, look, he got no right to be in there. He's lucky he doesn't get absolutely creamed there.
I'm thinking that's the only thing I have thought when watching these clips. He is very lucky not to have been absolutely minced.
Yeah. And sometimes players, if they know the ref shouldn't be there, they will make a little point of giving you a clout.
Yeah.
Little nudge.
But they'll give you like a full, don't be there next time.
Yeah, and Paul Williams, I have to bring you up on something. That not straight throw was deemed to be straight on the night, therefore it was straight. True.
Yeah, I was just paraphrasing social media there.
Yes.
Forgive me.
Cardiff Blues fans not happy. And look, we have to talk about these things. That's what we do. Let's talk about Ellis Jenkins.
Man.
So Ellis Jenkins, we did touch on this last week, coming back with the eyes. There is super producer Adam Redmond.
Good evening, gents.
How are you doing?
This is very unexpected, but unfortunately we have slight tech issues, so I'm trying to figure something out here, and fortunately that means me being present on the pod for about 30 seconds. So you continue to talk about Ellis Jenkins, and hopefully I'll make the video wizardry work.
Okay. I'm really tempted to ask you some other questions about the championship right now, but I won't. Right. Let's see. Ellis Jenkins. So we talked about last week because Sean, we spent some time talking about his journey back from injury, and it's been some really long. When you go back and Cardiff released a really nice video today that I think Adam's gonna try and play.
It's a great video, isn't it?
Yeah, work with us, folks, on this one. Sincerely, we're having tech issues tonight, so we'll just continue going. It's really nice, and it starts off really rough because, I remember seeing that injury at the time. It was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Where the foot got stuck, and everything goes, but the foot can't slide. The foot can't slide, and you get injuries like that every so often, and it means very bad things happen to the knee and things around it. And he was out for a very, very long time. So look, Adam, I think we can cue that up now.
Of the injury and then the period of rehab. Basically dislocated my knee. Did a lot of damage to the sort of ligaments and tendons and cartilage and bone injury as well. When it happened, I was knew that I'd hurt myself straight away, and so first thought went to it was literally 9 months before the World Cup, and that was my first thought while I was lying on the pitch. Physio sort of rolled me on my back, and the knee it felt like it clicked back in. I knew I tore my ACL at the time. Yeah, just thought, well, here we go. Try and make it, and obviously missed it by a fair bit of time. The big operation I had obviously took a while to get back, sort of walking and stuff, and because it was so much damage originally, and then from the operation needed a second operation to clean up some scar tissue, and then eventually needed a third to sort of clean up some more scar tissue then as the rehab process was going on. It's been a long time.
How difficult and kind of how dark is the cliche were those times for you?
It wasn't easy. I'm not gonna lie. I was just very lucky. I was surrounded by good people. Griff, the physio, the Blues I've been working with has been unbelievable. If it wasn't for him, I think I would have thrown the towel in a long time ago. Robin Southern-Taylor, Ryan Campbell, the S&C guys, all the medical department have been brilliant. My girlfriend and parents as well. Just they've had to deal with me going to training in a good mood and then having a bad day of rehab and coming home sulking. So it's been tough. There's been some good days, some bad days, but hopefully worth it in the end. Going to America was amazing.
Fantastic story, isn't it? 900 odd days, 2 years. last game, man of the match, Wales, South Africa. That's a long old time, right? And then to come back 2 years later to just have half a game of an A game and then go straight into Connacht away, right, in the Guinness Pro 14. No, Welsh Premiership or club games to get himself into. It's amazing. It's testament to him. And on the weekend, look, he had 8 carries. I think he had 69 minutes, something like that, right? So he's gone from 40 to 69 to 70 minutes at a higher level. Got a second wind in the game, 8 tackles, 15 tackles, and some of those were crunching tackles. Got 2 turnovers that he won. A couple of carries in there where he gained about 20 odd meters and beat a couple of defenders, which is good. That's going to come. The first thing to come back is going to be, his defensive work, tackling, getting in the line, getting off the line. Then his set piece work. Then he's going to start carrying the ball and off. So it'll come. It's just great to see. He's a lovely kid. Him and Sophie, right? I know them well, and they are model young Welsh people in their fields, right? Very successful. And at one point, maybe a year ago, I remember speaking to Sophie, and he was questioning whether he'd come back. He just caught there. He went to America for a week, and it turned the corner for him. Have a look at it. It's on the Cardiff Blues Twitter page.
Yeah, it's on their Twitter
10
page,
minutes. 10 minutes. Well worth it.
I think, and do you know what was amazing? You could tell just the genuine class and his ability. There was one of the Jackals on the weekend where you could just tell, by the tempo that he was moving to the Jackal. It was perfectly timed, so he wasn't sprinting to it. He knew where the contact point was going to be. He just arrived there, stole it really good. And I think what separates him from a lot of the other open sides in Wales and elsewhere, actually, he's almost like an old-fashioned open side. So he's not just the Jackal and the tackle; he's also the link player. So he's like more of a Tipuric. He's got really good hands and he's got really good feet. So I think that's what puts him a little bit ahead of some of the other, even very good open sides that Wales has now. Brilliant to see him back, and it's almost like having a new signing in the league again. We haven't seen him for so long. He's like a new player, so it's fantastic to see him.
It's worth watching, just finally, to tell our listeners, it's worth watching that 10 minutes just to see the intervention of the physios and the conditioners these days. So you look at what Paul's mentioned about the Jackal, look at the drills that he's been doing, the training practices to condition him. So you've got the hard and fast medical physiotherapist, you've got the hard and fast conditioner. Those guys in between, the guy Griffey mentions, is almost like a conditioning physio who will make sure that he's doing the right things to get back. It's not just about return to play at this level. It's about return to play well. That's what it's about. So it's great, really fascinating. Pleased for him.
People who are playing well. Holley's heroes.
Here we go.
Here's where we go.
This is hard. It's getting harder to do. I mean, like I had them once here on a Sunday night. So, Christ, It's difficult, but and there's a lot of contender, which is great for our league. Contrary to what some people say about the Guinness Pro 14, it's a fantastic league, and I'm compiling stats to show that. Lowry was great, right? So I'll run through these quickly. Got a try assist, most meters in the game. We've mentioned Alex Wootton. Woohoo, Wootton, fantastic. Plays for Connacht, by the way, not Munster. So apologies to all the men in green. Daly again makes it for the second. Why? Because he just does hard yards and tackles and does worth it. A bit like Chris Farrell, it was between those two. Right? I've gone for players on winning teams for no other reason than I wanted winning teams. We're at that stage of the season. Steph Hughes doesn't. It's an opportunity to pick Steph Hughes. He captains a side. He always gets mentioned almost condescendingly by people like me. But I put him in there because he did have a good game. Andrew Conway's a bag of tricks. I'm waiting for him to explode a little bit more. I still think he's got more in the tank, Conway. Madigan, I'm not the biggest fan of Madigan, but we saw some clips. He was tricky on the weekend. It was a good performance from Madigan. And he put some good kicks in. We've mentioned Rhys Webb. He's the only Osprey. That'll tell you something. It was a win for the Ospreys. He's the only Ospreys in my Holley's heroes, dominated by Irish boys. So 3 Leinster guys in the pack because of that sort of stuff in the 22. Ryan Baird. Well, you read the column. Read my his industry for a young man is fantastic. Josh Murphy was really good. Got to try a lot of tackles, a lot of carries. Conan was exceptional. Most carries, I think, in the league on the weekend. Jack Morgan, Paul's mentioned. Billy Holland, I've mentioned, just for his leadership and going to get a difficult win there. The two props on Heffernan. Heffernan was a standout hooker. So when you look at it, you think, oh, why those? When you watch all the games like I do, you'll understand. And then when you look at the statistics, and it's nice to see some unfamiliar, less household names, isn't it?
Absolutely, you couldn't disagree with any of that. Conan was ridiculous. I mean, I think he's wasted sitting on the Leinster bench.
But that goes to show me what I say about the Guinness Pro 14. Calamafoni was outstanding, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gavin Coombs, again, right?
Could have picked any of those.
Yeah.
Couldn't you? Could have picked any of those three.
Yeah, honestly, it's tough. It's tough to do.
And you know what? Sometimes you have to hit the deadline, even if it's set by our quote-unquote lowly producer, former title-winning coach. How dare you slam our producer for giving you a deadline?
I'm just picking him up on detail.
Shocking.
Turn her off.
Next up, here we go. So where are we in the Guinness Pro 14 heading into next weekend? Because next weekend is a big weekend of rugby.
Yeah.
We have time to touch on some Six Nations stuff, folks. We didn't know we were going to get here. Pro 14 Conference A. Leinster played 12.55. Ulster played 12.50. That is completely all to play for. Ospreys now they've kept their little reign of form going. That was looking very sticky, and if they'd lost to Zebre, that would becoming interesting. It's becoming less interesting now.
They've done enough now, haven't they?
I think they're pretty safe now. Played 12-31. Glasgow Warriors, Dragons, and Zebre 16, 15, and 13 points respectively. Zebre have played a game more. Conference B, Munster played 12.46, well clear of Connacht, played 12.37. Scarlets and Cardiff Blues 30 and 26 points. They both played a game more, 13 games each there. Edinburgh 19 points, Benetton 5. Edinburgh, if they claimed a couple of 5-pointers with their games in hand, they could make life interesting. But we will see. We'll touch on the fixtures to come this weekend shortly. But, gents, Six Nations. There's been a lot of talk today about the Six Nations coming up this weekend, because if you look at the table, France are top. They're everyone's favourite team right now. But if you went to the bookies last week for the France-Scotland game, you'd have said it was a 13-point handicap. It's now down to 2. And the real bet is, will this game take place at all? Because France now, at the time of recording, France now have a total of 11 players ruled out with COVID, and that's then plus 4 of their backroom team. 9 of the 23 against Ireland have tested positive. So this is not a good situation for anybody. No. It is especially not a good situation for a small, compressed time frame such as the Six Nations. Sean, what do you reckon?
I reckon France could still feel a good enough side, as they showed in the Autumn Nations Cup. However, that's not the point. The point is about keeping everybody safe, as well as wanting to see the best players on show, and I'm sure. So if there is a window, we understand that there might be the week after. There's no advantage or disadvantages competition-wise, is it? Because there's still a number of games to go. It's not like, we can get to see results, and it's not about that. These guys are tested, and it's about keeping everybody safe. So I think this common sense has to prevail, because the coach, Fabien Galtier's got it as well, isn't he?
Yeah. He was ground zero, I think, wasn't he? What you don't want is to infect everyone else in the Six Nations competition. But, we're trying not to do that globally, and rugby shouldn't really be any different. The logical thing would be to delay it and then play it in that gap week. Whether the English clubs will then release players. Scotland have got a lot of players playing in the Gallagher. I don't know. They haven't got relegation anymore. Would they worry that much about those games unless you're in European contention?
They won't have a choice, mate. They won't be
Yeah, it's but the Scottish Rugby Union have released a letter today, sort of outlining that sort of thing. So we always knew there was a chance this would happen, and it looks like it is going to happen. The way I look at it is, we're going to be out of this now, hopefully, fingers crossed, towards the end of next summer. Let's just live with this as it is. It isn't perfect. Delay it, play it when we can, and then move on with it. I don't think we should make a big deal out of it, really. We just got to be practical.
And that's very interesting you should say that, because we've done this since the very start of this season, which we've said that games are going to get called off because COVID-19 comes out. And it's very important that we don't automatically jump to say that the players involved or the coaches involved did anything wrong, because some of the new variants are really virulent. So we just don't know how it happened at this stage. One thing that is probably important to note is that, France did play Ireland very, very recently, but medics across Pro 14 unions have stated that there's been no evidence thus far this season of on-field transmission that we know of. World Rugby have relayed similar via the NFL and the Bundesliga. I actually read a paper covering Rugby League recently. These are not the same games, but you do get very close contact. So look, fingers crossed that this remains the case, but that's the one thing that a lot of people are looking out for. Would there be cases in the Ireland camp because of this? It looks like that is not likely to happen. But it's a funny year, folks. We're just gonna have to roll with it.
I can just see a caption coming up now. McGeady says, "Can't catch it from scrum, so why aren't we back in pubs?"
Why aren't we drinking Guinness on site?
You're not pulling me down that rabbit hole, but we're not going to spend too much time on that one, because there will be a decision. We're told we record on Monday. There'll be a decision within the next 48 hours. I think it could be made much sooner than that if their hand is forced by more cases, but we will see. The other games looking forward to,
nice.
Italy against Ireland. Ireland will go in heavy favourites to that. It'll be interesting to see how they pick in some positions where there's been a little bit of fuss in this part of the world, folks.
Come on.
Wales against England. Great stat from Russ Petty. If you don't follow Russ Petty on Twitter and you're interested in rugby, you're missing out. Alan Wynne-Jones has played, he started 22 consecutive tests against England since 2007.
God.
That is unbelievable. Follow Russ Petty or Andy will find you. Yes, I will. Russ is a great follow. Knowledgeable bloke and keeps all sorts of stats and databases about this kind of stuff. Is a umpteen different combos of people beside him, but he has been a fixture in this fixture. It's just we've talked about him a lot on this pod, Paul. But imagine that your formative years. What was the first game that you remember? What age do you reckon you were?
Probably Schweppes Cup. I'd have been about 6, watching like Swansea or Neath or something in Cardiff when I was young.
So imagine you're 6 years old. The first England-Wales game you remember is in 2007. That means you were born in 2001. There's a 20-year-old walking around right now who does not remember watching England-Wales without Alan Wynne-Jones in it.
That's incredible.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Right? It's insane and it's brilliant and I love it. That's all we're going to do on Six Nations, because we have no teams. We have no teams yet. Quick look ahead to the fixtures of the weekend, because we've a lot of rugby watching to do. Friday night, Benetton versus Connacht. Early kickoff, that 5:30 UK time. Cardiff Blues versus Munster. That's 8 o'clock. Ulster Ospreys, 8 o'clock. That's all on Friday night. Saturday, early kickoff, 12 o'clock. Edinburgh Scarlets. Zebre Dragons. That's 5:15, and Sunday, nice little bit to wind down the weekend. Leinster, small matter of Glasgow Warriors coming to town, 5:30 on a Sunday evening. It's a very civilized.
That's a nice balanced schedule, actually.
I'm very.
They're all very mixed. Yeah, I like the look of those.
Yeah, there's a bit of more speculation in the wind. We're going here. The 42.ie report that Argentina have approached the Pro 14 over the Jaguares, potentially joining the competition, but based in Spain. This caused a little bit of a lot of speculation.
This is nonsense, isn't it?
I can only say that a source, a Pro 14 source close to the podcast, throws considerable doubt upon this suggestion.
Nicely summed up.
Not the suggestion. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
There it is.
It's final.
Screen cap this. Jaguares to the Pro 14 is utter nonsense. So the source close to the podcast. That's the line on But it is nice to think about, but not just yet. Quote.
Quotas. That's brilliant.
Hashtag Jaguares nonsense.
Yeah. Stick this on your front page.
Coming down fairly firm on this one is our production team.
Considering we didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Fake news, isn't it? It's just the amount of fake news. People are bored or they haven't got any news, whatever. Somebody's. Hey, we got the Saffers coming. We can't wait.
Yeah,
Rainbow Cup.
Don't need any more than that.
And if you think about all of the rugby this weekend, right? So we've got Guinness Pro 14 action from Friday through Sunday. We have 6 Nations games, hopefully 3, but almost certainly 2. I'll take that right now. Where do we think we are with Super Rugby Aotearoa? Because Super Rugby started this weekend. We couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
I got a dilemma. I'm in. Assuming I pass a COVID test on Wednesday, I'll be in Ulster for Ulster Ospreys on Friday, flying back to Heathrow Saturday lunchtime. So I'm gonna any idea of getting Aotearoa or whatever, unless I get the Friday game. There's one Friday morning, isn't there?
Yeah, Friday morning.
Highlanders Crusaders. So I could try and sneak that somewhere legally if somebody helps me. And then, so I'm gonna miss the Saturday morning stuff, whatever. And then, yeah, I could do it from here. And then,
for those of you listening at home, the caption on screen reads, "Sean won't be on next week's show because he'll be isolated."
Yeah, I can still do it. But then I'm gonna have to hot-footed from Heathrow to get the kickoff for Wales England. It's 4:45, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
So I'm in grave danger of missing
something.
I'm going to miss Italy Island.
I'm hoping we just get a broadcast deal for Super Rugby.
We're not mentioning any names, but someone is making a lot of noise right now. And look, it's the right noise. Rugby's a product, and worldwide rugby is still, like it or not, it's a niche sport when you look at the numbers involved. Yeah. And if you look at the number of carriers that we now have, Ollie Hughes, Super Rugby said they'll announce stuff about international broadcasting in the coming days. Hope so.
But what it'll be is that Paul Williams is illegally streaming it, and then he's opened up a Patreon page. Right?
Exactly, just looping it through that, rerouting it,
rerouting cash.
Yeah. And by the way, lads, just consult your 4K HD. Not happening. Right?
Not happening. No.
Not with Williams TV. But if we can get that sorted out, then, gents, we have a staggering amount of rugby to watch this coming weekend. So fingers crossed. I'm not reading that out.
Let me tell you, Jesus Christ!
Don't want that. Williams without his glasses on, with a tennis racket and Fanta orange. Oh my God!
Yeah, like a bin bag full of sick.
Right, we're into comments and questions. So, producer Adam, start pulling them up, please. I might go to a Chiefs girl one that I saw pop up asking us about, did we see the schedule for the proposed changes to the schedule for Rugby World Cup 2023 that were announced today? Thoughts on World Rugby adding an extra week to the Rugby World Cup and bumping up squad numbers to help with player welfare concerns. So if you missed this today, because in fairness, it's over 2.5 years away, folks, but this is what we do in Rugby land, right? Yeah. The World Rugby have announced, in conjunction with the International Rugby Players Union, I'm not sure what the official name for that is anymore, but the match schedule will be announced this coming Friday. All teams will have at least 5 days preparation for all matches for the first time. And to do that, they have extended the pool phase of the competition by a week. So this was important because if you go back through all iterations of the Rugby World Cup, some teams have got screwed with 3 and 4 day turnarounds. That is usually fine or doable if you were a big nation, big with, in terms of player base, depth, like in England or a South Africa or a New Zealand. But if you're a small union, you don't have the players, you get screwed. Like Wales. It was also very, very hard to do. Also, they've increased the squad sizes from 31 to 33. I think this is a good thing. It's going to be a very, very long competition, folks.
I think it's great. I think it's great, and I also think, was it 33? Isn't it? We'll find out on Friday. where the teams are going to be playing and based.
Yes.
Because I'm going to take a group of fans over playing golf, watching rugby. If you want to come, contact me.
Nice.
It's going to be brilliant. France,
Another
2023.
free ad there, Adam, if you're counting him up.
Yeah.
And his golf company.
Yeah, well, it is with my golf company. So if you want to come with me, and a few others, then. But no, but you know, we are so used to go in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa for World Cups, Lions tours, right? Japan. I know we've had home ones, but I like the fact that it's home enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And away. Yeah,
we
exactly.
We can just go over there, a couple of hours to France.
Yeah.
In the warm, it'd be fantastic.
You know, but to go back to that point about the extra days, the player safety is the big win, obviously, but it'll improve the quality of the tournament because now the tier 2s, they'll be able to recover better. So, you know, Fiji, Samoa, those lads, they're going to be
the big boys.
They'll be, you know, they'll be 20% better, probably 15-20%.
And the one thing I will say that it's not easy to do out those schedules because when like rugby needs the money from the big countries' TV money, and they don't want those big teams with big markets playing at silly times in the middle of the week. They want them playing in prime time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard. Should have been in Ireland. Could have done lots of golf trips, Sean. Yes, you could have done.
God.
But Wales voted against Ireland.
Putting a bid in for 4 years later.
Wow. Once again with feelings. Will Maxwell, can Munster win the Pro 14 this year? As Sean Holley certainly feels that it is always silly to bet against Munster.
Do you know, I'm going to go there now. Munster, they win the Pro 14.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow. Okay, he's there. Write it on a post-it, folks. Write it down. Dennis Murray, Leinster take 20 to 30 minutes at the start of a game before even thinking about playing rugby. That's when teams that can match them have a chance. Saracens did it last season. Munster and Thomond and Dragons that are often completely outplayed in the first 30. It will cost them. This is kind of touching on a point that came up earlier on the show.
Yeah.
About are Leinster so confident that their time will come? They'll get into the 22. They'll come back with 7 points. What if they don't? Yeah, Dennis Murray, there might be something to that.
The time will be in the final, if at all. All.
Chiefs Girl was trying to figure out who Louis Rees-Zammit.
Great comparison that is.
I think he's like the Welsh version of Will Jordan. That's a
very good comparison.
I like that. It's good. No lines. I do enjoy this show, lads. A few match highlights, good bit of shite talked, and I have a few beers.
That's
the plan.
I do not have a few beers.
If we ever went to corporate backers looking for money, that is what we'd stick as the mission statement.
Yeah. So can you pitch? Well, it's a good show. A few highlights, a good bit of shite talk, and we have a few beers.
Yeah, and a nice bit of swearing. Yeah, here we are. Here's 50k.
Harley Worthy, great shout. Do you remember when Ellis Jenkins had to play 20 minutes of a Challenge Cup game?
Yes, I do.
It wasn't Challenge Cup. It was Pro 14. It was against Benetton, and it happened. It really happened.
Look at McGeady.
On fire.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Fog Dragon, a suggestion for future league extension, pro team in Germany, huge potential market.
No,
I can get on board with this also.
You know, that when I finished coaching, I said to myself, there'd be very few gigs I would go back for. Germany's one of them.
Really?
Paul, have you been to Oktoberfest?
Not yet.
No, I haven't. I'd love to, though. I'd love to. Yeah, a team in Berlin, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
I just think, you know, if you could harness, it's a big old country with some big units.
I was going to say some big people wandering around there.
Yeah, the professional sports are really good.
Yeah.
You know, could be one.
Well, there's been some investment in German rugby over the years. Phelan Davis, apparently the Hurricanes are joining the top 14, the Pro 14 based out of Mayo. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Very good.
The Bell Mullet Hurricanes. Okay. Any more out there? I meant stream, not steam. We're definitely talking about something different. I think we are prediction for on Ireland versus Italy. It's going to be Ireland by. Wow, this is going to. I can't even keep up with these. David Hatley, where would Ospreys finish next season, Sean, if they sign players for next season?
They should go up a level again, shouldn't they?
Well, we got the. I gotta be careful what I say. I gotta get approval. If it was the league as it is now, with the two conferences, I think the Ospreys would finish second in their conference.
Yes,
if they sign some players.
Yeah, they go up a stage, wouldn't they? They go up a little, up the ladder.
Yeah.
So you're saying they knock Ulster out of second place,
potentially, yeah.
They've been near them, I think.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's a good pub question, Matt.
A really good question.
Connacht, maybe supersede Connacht and the Scarlets, so they be in that sort of top 2, 4, 5 on a combined league.
Okay,
which isn't good enough.
That.
Which isn't good enough from where the Ospreys have come from. It's not yet,
folks. The subtext to that for anyone new to rugby is that that's not good enough from since I coached them.
Since they went exactly. Yeah.
Correct.
I think that is a wrap for tonight. We've got through a lot. Thank you for everyone for joining in. Thank you to Stuart McInally. Great chat at the start. If you were in a little late, we just hit straight into Stuart. So if you missed it, go back. It's good crack. He's a good lad. Thank you, Sean Holley. Thank you, Paul Williams. Thank you, Adam Redmond, and especially for the effort working through the technical issues that we had. It was great. Thank you to all of you who've given us some of your time this Monday evening or listening back on your podcasts as you get out and about, or not, as the case may be in these strange and uncertain times. That was Under the Sticks, brought to you by Pro 14 Rugby. My name is Andy McGeady. We will talk to you very soon. Thanks for listening.